Alright, this video is low-key late because my last two videos on Kagurabachi chapter 120 and 121 both got taken down because I showed too much of the manga, which is 100% my fault. But anyway, so we're going over chapter 122 really quick. There's not too much in this chapter that needs to be covered. There's just a few lore drops and whatnot, and mostly set up for chapter 123, which is a bit more interesting. But anyway, let's get into it. So Kunishige and Subaru have a conversation about Subaru's book, and Kunishige basically calls him out for putting a bunch of BS in the book, and they bond over this conversation. It was Subaru seeing how much being a swordsmith means to Kunishige, and the philosophy around him forging and selling katanas, and his dream of making the greatest swords ever, which shows a lot of character for Kunishige earlier on, that he's always kept these ideals, but even with these ideals, he ended up still making a huge error and mistake with making the Magatsumi and also giving it to Kimura, which led to the massacre of a bunch of people. But obviously right now he just doesn't know what's going to happen, but we basically see the earlier traits of the Kunishige we meet later on, that is Chihiro's dad, which is still very much a lot like himself, but you can tell he carries a bit more guilt around with him than the Kunishige now. But anyway, once Shiba arrives back in Japan, he gets treated for his wounds, and the higher-ups begin discussing the current threat of the Mikaboshi and their demands that now include Princess Soga, and they want to have her bear the king's child, which they obviously reject these demands, including the demand of also the Daidenseki that's in Japan itself. So they're obviously not trying to go for that, and they're currently just trying to discuss what other options they have to go against the Mikaboshi. And they also give us some information around the Hiroshima squad, which it seems like Hiroto was the strongest sorcerer that Japan had at the time, and he was the strongest in the squad, with the other sorcerers not really falling too far behind. They were, I would say, on his level, but he was the standout of that squad. And obviously this includes Shiba, so Shiba's still, even in his younger age, the upper echelon of sorcerers in Japan. And now they bring up Kaichi, which are these monster transformations that we don't really see too much of. We saw them earlier on, but I don't think we ever saw them in action, so we still have yet to really see what these are. I'm hoping we're going to see a little bit more of them later on, but who knows. And they also mentioned maybe Flamebone of the Starving, which shows us that Flamebone has been around for a while, obviously predating the Enchanted Blades, and could possibly be maybe one of the epitome of sorceries in Japan, on par with Hiroto, Soga, or maybe even stronger. So the Kaguri clan and the Soga clan might be like a Zenin Gojo clan kind of situation, but we don't really know yet. But it's kind of cool we're getting these lore drops in these different powerful clans that are out there. You have like Sanazami clan, the Kaguri clan, and the Soga clan, which are all very interesting so far. But the Kaguri clan currently right now doesn't have a Flamebone user, and if Flamebone were to just get out of control, it could scorch the entire continent. And the chapter ends off with Kunishige talking to Shiba about the aftermath of the Hiroshima incident, and the higher-ups continue discussing the possibilities of using the Daitenseki, which they're obviously super skeptical, and they don't have much hope for the Daitenseki working. But obviously one of the higher-ups is batting for Kunishige at being able to harness the power of the Daitenseki, and we get this cool little shot. We end up getting this really cool shot of Kunishige's notebook that says the Enchanted Blade plan, which is super interesting and super cool. So that's mostly chapter 122. Like I said, there's not too much in this chapter. It's leading up to 123, which I have already read and I'm going to make a video on, which will be out tomorrow. I just wanted to get 122 out just so I can keep the consistency. But yeah, I'm really interested in, there's a lot of lore in Kagurabachi right now, and there's a lot of cool clans that we are getting introduced to or getting more information about that I hope continues on. Based on the information, I don't think Flamebone probably was used in the war. It was probably unnecessary, and this would have been honestly way before Hayuki was born. So